The Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
It's the front page news.
It's what's trending now.
All right, Rickey Smiley Morning Show. If you don't absolutely love what you do, make sure you go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today and become an information technology professional in as little as 4 months. That's mycomputercareer.edu. All right, ladies and gentlemen, y'all give it up for former Vice President of the United States, the one and only Joe Biden.
Hey, Rickey Smiley, how you doing, man?
Hey, Vice President Joe Biden, how you feeling?
I'm doing well. I wish I was doing it in person with you. How you been?
Hey, I've been pretty good, and thank you for coming to the station, spending some time with us. Remember now, when you become president, you promised we were going to see Fleetwood Mac.
That's a promise. That's a promise.
I got a few questions for you.
Sure, fire away.
COVID-19 is just hurting a lot of black and brown people, African Americans, and it seems like Trump doesn't have a plan to do anything about it. What is your plan, Mr. Vice President?
He doesn't have any plan to do about it. And the worst part we all now know is that he knew as far back as February, he went on tape with Bob Woodward acknowledging he knew how dangerous this was. He didn't say a darn thing to anybody. He didn't acknowledge it at all. He didn't, and he later said he didn't want to panic the American people. They don't panic. The only people who panicked was him. And the other thing is that I started insisting way early on, as you remember, that we keep track of who is being infected by COVID and who is dying. Because I had spoken with the mayor of Detroit. I worked a lot of time up there helping bail them out. It's about 80% African American. I said, Joe, he said, African Americans up here, they are dying. They get it at 3 times the rate of white Americans, and they're dying at twice the rate. And it's because of a whole range of things that he was unwilling to pay any attention to. So the big fight was, first of all, keep the statistics. Make sure we know precisely who's being affected. Brown and black people are being killed because and also they live in neighborhoods, by and large, that are susceptible to everything from the air pollution. They sit they're fence line communities on the other side of oil refineries and chemical plants and the like. And so he's done nothing about it. And then in addition to that, what's happened is he's come along, and if you notice, he has no plan. He put forward no plan to be able to open up schools, and particularly in black and Latino communities where a mom may have a $6 an hour job, and she has to choose between taking the job and being able to stay home with their 4-year-old kid who, in fact, has no help. It's just been horrible what they've done.
Great answer. The people all over this country are concerned about the long lines at the polling precincts and inconsistencies with the postal service and COVID-19 as they head to the polls this election. Now, how is the campaign addressing the barriers that folks are facing this November just to utilize their right to vote?
Well, what we did was, number one, we put together the largest voter protection program that's ever been put together. We have literally, we have well over 1,000 people on the ground. First thing I'd say, tell your folks to go to iwillvote.com to make sure they know where to vote, how they can vote, and how early they can vote. They can vote early, vote early. The people of this country are not going to be denied. They're going to be heard no matter how much Trump tries to stop them. In addition to that, what's going on is we have people who are working with a bunch of lawyers, a lot of them, making sure that state programs exist for the recruit and ensure the poll workers, enough of them are available. Also, these voter suppression programs, preventing Republicans from putting up obstacles to voting by using supposed emergency powers to intimidate voters and attack or subvert the democratic process. You saw what happened recently in Virginia. Early voting, we had people lined up for up to 4 hours trying to vote. And then there was a report of a group of Trumpers with Trump supporters with flags, waving flags, blocking the sidewalk or blocking the way for people to get to vote. And the local Republicans said, well, they just don't have any sense of humor. Sense of humor, that intimidation, they should be arrested for doing that.
Absolutely.
It's just wrong. What we have to do is make sure that we are doing everything possible, working with the secretaries in the states that control the voting and making sure there are places available. For example, a lot of the NBA stadiums are being opened up so you can have large venues where people can be socially distanced. A whole lot of people can vote at the same time, and they can get in and be distanced and vote as quickly as you can. But it will be counted. We're going to make sure every damn vote is counted.
Absolutely. Now, Trump announced his Supreme Court pick will likely be named on Friday or Saturday, and that is down to 4 or 5 people. What is your reaction, and do you think that's appropriate considering the fact, they didn't think that it was good enough for you and the Obama administration to have a Supreme Court nominee? How do you feel about the hypocrisy of that?
Well, first of all, it's incredible hypocrisy. That quote from Lindsey Graham saying at the time, I don't think there should be any voting in the election year. And by the way, you can remind me of this and say I didn't tell the truth if, in fact, I changed my mind. Well, he changed his mind. I'm still hoping there are 2 people who have the courage to do something. Murkowski, the senator from Alaska, and Senator Collins from Maine have both said they don't think a vote should take place. And one of the things the Constitution calls for in terms of the whole idea of the Supreme Court is the American people get to have a say in what kind of person should be be on the court in the following way. That they, in fact, get to vote for a president. The reason the president gets to nominate, not to make sure they pass, the nominate is because he represents the whole country, and the rationale of the founders was he should be reflecting the views of what the country thinks, number one. Number 2, then the Senate is the one who can decide whether or not they should be appointed or not appointed. So it's, one can propose, the president, the other dispose. And the whole idea is that the election is supposed to give the people the one chance to have an impact. Right. We're in the midst of an election. Right now, election has already started, early voting. By the time this president moves forward and actually gets and breaking the rules, watching McConnell change the rules and has a vote, you'll have up to 40% of the people will have already voted in America. Already voted.
Right. Right.
And so this is just not right. It's totally inconsistent, and it's not legal. It's technically you can do it. There's no legal prohibition, but it's totally inconsistent with an accurate reading of the Constitution. I'm not giving up hope. I still think the chance 2 more Republicans will have the nerve to say no.
And black businesses have really been hit hard during the pandemic. Even before the pandemic, many black businesses were struggling. And I hear this week is Small Business Week. So I would love to know a little bit about how, what is your plan to help small businesses and how it would be different for folks under a Biden-Harris administration.
Well, first of all, I've been talking about this now, as you probably know, for the better part of 4 months. Here's the deal. Right now, more than 400,000 small businesses have collapsed in the wake of this tragic mismanagement of the current situation. 75% of small businesses have been negatively impacted by the crisis. Over half of small businesses say that it'll take them more than 6 months to recover, if they can recover at all. 1 in 6 black businesses have closed. People say, well, it's a tough environment. Guess what? It's in spite of the fact that the House of Representatives passed what they call the CARES Act, which provided for $2 trillion to help keep businesses afloat. But guess what happened? 60% of the money that was supposed to go to small businesses went to big businesses and corporations. You hear United Airlines is being bailed out in billions of dollars, but small businesses aren't getting the aid. I have an answer how we can deal with some of this. There's a thing called a person called an inspector general, supposed to watch where every one of these dollars go. What was the first thing Trump did? Fired the inspector general. Fired him. That's not a joke. Fired him. So, Number one, there's a lot of collusion going on here. That's totally wrong. And if I'm president, I'm going to appoint an inspector general to go back and follow every penny of that money and make those who, in fact, got it and shouldn't have paid back, and those who got it illegally be held accountable. But in addition to that, what I'm going to set up at the White House is navigators. One of the things we found out is if you are a minority business, or any business for that matter, that's small, you have a great idea. You don't have not only the resources to start, but even if you have the money, you don't have access to the accountants. So I had a friend who used to say, Joe, you got to know how to know. You can go to the Library of Congress, one of the great libraries in the world. If you don't know how to access the card catalog, it's of no value to you. So we're going to provide the guidance to small business people or entrepreneurs as to how they get not their idea, but how they get the mechanical things that are necessary. What loan process do they have to go through? Who's the accountant? How do they make their presentation? What do we do in terms of that whole, and it's gigantic help when it occurs.
Real quick, this is a fun for free question. You at home Saturday night with your wife, Jill. Who are you listening to, Jodeci or the Isley Brothers?
Me, the Isley Brothers. That dates me a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vice President, Democratic nominee, future President of the United States, Joe Biden, ladies and gentlemen. All right, y'all, for more information, you need to vote with confidence. Make sure you make your vote count. Register to vote today at newsone.com. Newsone.com/vote. That's newsone.com/vote. 25 before the top of the hour, y'all. Rickey Smiley Morning Show.